Jeff Todd here for MLB Trade Rumors. We've been running down the position players that are going to be entering free agency at the end of the 2020 season. Whether or not it occurs, these guys will be on the open market. Next up, the catching position, where there's one key guy to focus on. First, if you do have a quick second, run down and hit that subscribe button for me. We want to keep you up to date with all the guys hitting the open market and all the other coverage we've got, all the videos we have planned. That guy I'm talking about, of course, JT Realmuto of the Phillies. I think pretty much everyone agrees the game's best catcher right now. But the question is, by what margin? And is that even really fair? So we're talking about a guy in Realmuto who's an above average hitter. He's an excellent defender. He runs well. He does everything. Exceptionally athletic. I've been on the hype train for him for years, way back into his time with the Marlins before he was dealt to the Phillies. Here's the thing, though. He hasn't been able to see eye to eye with the club on an extension. Many thought that would happen already. And reporting indicates that he has sought something like the $159 million guarantee that Buster Posey once got long ago with the Giants. That number is a bit flabbergasting to me. I just don't see it for Realmuto because as good as he is, as high a quality overall player as he is, he's not a superstar. He's not exceptionally youthful the way that Posey was when he signed that deal as a franchise-level player. I love Realmuto. I think he's a great contributor, but let's compare him to Yasmani Grandal, a better overall track record at the plate, also a highly accomplished defender. He just got 4 years, $72 million from the White Sox, not even in the ballpark of that Posey deal. I just can't imagine Realmuto being valued at something like twice or more that number. Realmuto does still stand out against the rest of this class, but let's bear in mind, he's only been sixth in the last 4 or 5 years in weighted runs created. Plus, that's a measure of overall offensive capability with the bat. Amongst catchers, that's amongst catchers, not all players, obviously. And there are some other guys, including Grandal, that are still around and still available that are at or near that level on the upcoming free agent list. I'm talking about Wilson Ramos, talking about guys like Kurt Suzuki still in there, and Robinson Chirinos. These guys still have a lot of thump. Now, obviously, you're not going to compare them to Realmuto in terms of defensive ability. That's what makes him special. But if you're looking for pop, you could look to guys like that. Maybe even a guy like Wellington Castillo if he bounces back. Now, those are right-handed hitters. There's also some lefties with historically good bats. Alex Avila, Stephen Vogt, they're going to be on the market. So there's a fair bit of thump available there. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, hey, you missed a guy. James McCann, also with the White Sox. Now, he had a very nice season last year, his best ever as a big leaguer. But remember, he fell off very hard in the second half, and the White Sox replaced him with Grandal. So we're not talking about a guy that his own team had the kind of confidence in that they were going to just keep him as the primary guy. So I tend to expect, that was something of a career year. You look at all the peripheral numbers. I think that I see him likely as one of these timeshare type of players. Okay, Cardinals fans are screaming right now because the guy I'm really missing, yes, Yadier Molina. Of course, how could I have forgotten him? I didn't forget him. I just don't think he's going to be a free agent. He's going to end up back in St. Louis if he decides to keep playing. It seemed likely that they were going to reach an extension already when the season went on ice. That's my expectation. And I'd say the same thing for Roberto Perez. With the Indians, he had a very nice season last year. Really stepped up to the plate after they traded Yan Gomes and gave him the lion's share of the time. Hit at an above average level, still a well-regarded defender. He's also controlled by a $5.5 million club option. So, the team's obviously going to pick that up if he keeps playing at that level. So I don't feel like we really even need to consider him in that list either. In some ways, one of the more interesting guys on this list, he only just turned 29 years of age. This is a former top draft pick, top prospect, and he has had high-end offensive seasons. 2016 and 2017, Mike Zunino was hitting dingers, getting on base enough to be a high-quality performer with the bat, but he was a total disaster on offense last year. He's still well regarded behind the dish. Who knows? If he puts it back together, he could be a really interesting guy given his age, but totally speculative at this point in time. Now, this list is still going to go on, and there's some pretty accomplished guys here. Only goes to show the way that teams have spread playing time and used short year deals for catchers. And it does emphasize how rare guys like Realmuto and Grandal really are in this day and age. So next up, Jason Castro, a left-handed hitter, pop, good framer. At times, an average-ish hitter. You could consider him a regular quality catcher, I guess, but teams have tended to put him more into that platoon role. Same with Tyler Flowers. He's had some good seasons. Both these guys, of course, moving up there in the age bracket, as are many of the players we're talking about. Russell Martin and Francisco Cervelli both have been that sort of everyday, true regular backstop, but they are now a bit long in the tooth, dealt with some injuries, unclear where their careers are headed, but likely also in that reserve platoon region of play. And I think that's even more true for the rest of the guys on the list. Manny Pena, Sandy Leon, Austin Romine. We're talking about guys that have mostly been reserves in their careers. And with these other guys, some of whom have been more of the regular types, you know, the 2020 performance is obviously going to matter a great deal. But with the exception maybe of Ramos, Chirinos, you're mostly looking with this class at guys that teams are going to want to mix and match. You're going to want to have two catchers of this type to share time. And depending on the way this season shakes out, it might be a whole class full of timeshare guys, except for Realmuto. That could obviously boost his stock, but as I said, I still can see him as a $100 million guy, maybe if with a big season, but I don't see the bidding going much higher than that, and it's very likely that he won't even quite make it to that number. Do think it's quite possible he'll break the record Mike Piazza $91 million free agent catching contract. But anything more than that, anything up near Posey, not seeing it. Please do hit that like button on your way out. Let me know if you disagree with the analysis down here below. And of course, subscribe to keep up with all of our videos.